Okay, so I want to talk about the iPhone 16e that launched just about a week ago, and I've been using it ever since. And honestly, the first thing I gotta say about this device is that it's actually a pretty damn good device, and it sort of just does everything you really need it to do. And all the noise surrounding this device is just that, really, where people are moaning about it. It's just noise. I think, honestly, that isn't to say this thing is perfect, because it's definitely not. And I will sort of go over some of the shortcomings. What I will say is that this device punches well above its price point, even if it could stand to be just a little bit cheaper. Now, back when I was in college and stuff, I worked at telecommunication companies for about a decade. I worked at Bell and Rogers, which is the Canadian version of T-Mobile and Verizon, what have you. But when I worked there, I would sell smartphones, and I'd give the customer pretty much whatever device they would need without bias. Now, of course, there were the few when they'd come into the store, they know exactly what they would want. They'd want the iPhone 5S in a 64 gig configuration and so on and so forth. They knew exactly what they wanted. Now, apart from those people who knew exactly what they wanted, the majority of people coming in to buy the iPhone was just normal people. And they typically only had three checkboxes they needed looked after. Number one, is it an iPhone? Check. Number two, is it the cheapest iPhone? Check, with an asterisk. I'll talk about that. And number three, is the battery good? And this gets a double check. All the other things when it came down to an iPhone didn't particularly matter for those normal people, whether that be, the screen size, LCD versus OLED, the refresh rate, all those things didn't particularly matter, less so back then when I was working there. But yeah, you could definitely argue that the iPhone 15 Pro would be a better deal if you find it refurbed or used or something of the sort. But again, that's not particularly something the normal user is going to be doing. Again, if you're an enthusiast like myself, or likely somebody watching this video, yeah, definitely you can find a better phone at a cheaper price if you go searching for it. But those normal people, they just want to go into a store and leave that same day with a phone, and they're not trying to scour Facebook Marketplace or what have you. It's the mom, it's the dad, it's the teen going into high school for the first time, it's the trades dude who just wants an iPhone with the fattest possible battery, and he's going to put a huge case on it. Those are the people buying this device. And honestly, apart from that, I find carriers are probably going to subsidize the hell out of this device. And companies are going to buy these up in bulk for employees. And this is honestly a great fit for that sort of demographic of buyer. Now, with all of this, even myself as more of an enthusiast, I've been using this over the last week and a bit, and I've put it through its paces, and honestly, it's done a pretty damn good job. What I can say is if this device were maybe a little bit smaller, something like the iPhone 13 mini, this would have been the absolute perfect device for me. Now, getting the iPhone 16e in hand, as for where I'm upgrading from, I've been using these little tiny Android dumb phones, if you can even call them that. Honestly, these have all the apps I would want for, social media, emails, navigation, Apple Music, Spotify, all that fun stuff is on here. But they're actually so shitty when it comes down to social media usage between, their older, crappier processors and their smaller screens. They don't particularly allure me into using social media like crazy. So that's why I really do use these. Otherwise, I use a real dumb phone that only does calling and texting. I don't know, for me, having used these dumb phones for, 3.5, maybe 5 months, I just appreciate a slower smartphone experience because I don't really like all the fast apps and the dopamine hits I would typically get. I don't know, between the news showing me that the world is ending every other week and social media apps literally designed to keep my attention at all costs, I just prefer disconnecting a little bit more. That's just me. Now, I do still like to use social media. I like to post my vertical videos. I just typically use my iPad or my computer or something whenever I do end up doing those sort of things. I just don't get as drawn in on those devices. But yeah, relative to these, Android flip phones and tiny Android devices that are still great, mind you, the iPhone 16e is an absolutely gargantuan upgrade. With the 16e, at least, when you put it next to other iPhones, it is nothing special in terms of build and design. But when you actually take a look at this device, it is a flippin' gorgeous device. It's built incredibly well. The screen is beautiful. The microphone's insane. The camera, like I mentioned, is absolutely magnificent. So if you're looking to get a dumb phone and you have the willpower to keep this device dumb as it could be, you're in for a flippin' treat. Now, similar to my iPhone 13 mini, I dumbified my iPhone 16e by using an app called Dumbify. You don't have to use this app specifically. There's a ton of them on the App Store. Some of them you have to pay for over each year, or some of them are just a one-time fee. I think I paid $5 or something for Dumbify, and it took me like 5 minutes to set up. I just use a couple basic apps on here, And that's it, really. Right out of the box, iPhones typically have a ton of apps installed, whether you use them or not. You can ignore them and stuff. Either just get rid of them, keep my iPhone minimal as possible, and that's just me. With this sort of setup between these crappy Androids or my iPhone, it allows me to still have access to the conveniences of a smartphone without particularly getting drawn to social media like I mentioned. In this case, I have access to my banking apps, security apps when I do need to log in at work and stuff, and apps for my kids like daycare and baby monitors and stuff. So yeah, it works incredibly well if you have the willpower to keep your iPhone 16e dumb. And yeah, sure, Apple's marketing is beyond incredible. I don't fault them for that. They make us want the telephoto lenses, the ultra-wide lenses, the ProMotion displays, the fastest chip, which this has the fastest chip, mind you, on iPhones available right now. But with all that, of course, they're most definitely nice to have, but they're absolutely not necessary. If they are necessary for you, you might already know that, and those are available on those more expensive iPhones. But yeah, I think the iPhone 16e is a great device in that regard. Now, one thing that I love about iPhones particularly is usually their cameras. And I will say the camera on here is actually pretty damn good. And I do want to talk about it, mainly since I've used it quite a bit. I've used it in low light, good lighting, outdoors, indoors, a lot of different scenarios, and it's actually done pretty damn well. Now, obviously, it's not going to be as good as a camera like I'm filming on right now, or even compared to the other iPhones, particularly in low light. It's not going to perform as well, but it still punches, again, well above its price point. And talking about the actual demographic this is meant for, again, the everyday user, or somebody like me who just doesn't care as much anymore, this is going to hold up incredibly well in terms of camera. Now, I've always been a bit of an advocate for bringing back the dad cam, is what I like to call it, because you can use an iPhone like this, not just for YouTube and stuff. Not everybody is a YouTuber or a creator of some sort, but you can make videos with your iPhone for nobody but yourself or your family. I personally have an entire folder of videos that I've made that have never made it to YouTube because they're not meant for that. They're just videos of my family doing random things. And again, it's like the dad cam from the 90s and 2000s where you'd have a shitty VHS camcorder and dads would just film everything. And that's sort of what I do with my iPhone, and I edit it together. And I have an entire folder of videos like this that I love to look back on. And half of them are all done on iPhones, whatever iPhone was available at the time. It's sort of a digital diary or a time machine you get to look back on, but seriously, I can't recommend it enough, regardless of what you're doing, you know, whether it's birthdays, drinks with your friends, or just the mundane things that you might do day to day. Record it, film it, and use it as a, again, digital diary of sorts if you want to. I love using iPhones for that specifically because they're just so easy to start up. You don't have to set anything up. You just start filming. And yeah, obviously you can use any camera for that. And I typically do that. Whatever camera is available, I use it. And it's usually the iPhone because it's just so small, easy to start up. You don't really have to do anything except you start shooting. So yeah, the iPhone 16e does an incredible job when it comes down to the camera. And yeah, I like to say life is a movie if you make it one. So something to remember. Definitely give it a try. From a tech standpoint though, this is a 48 megapixel camera, so it does do a great job in terms of keeping detail in your photos and videos, even with the 2x crop or the telephoto equivalent, they say the dual camera setup, whatever the hell they called it this time around. It does a good job. I could say it could do a little bit better in low light, but it does a great job either way, and I don't really have much complaints. I will say the battery on here is flippin' absurd, and I don't actually remember the last time I didn't have to worry about charging my device overnight, and that's a breath of fresh air, especially when it comes down to iPhones. With that, I did accidentally discover the game Balatro, if you're familiar with it, and that game is super addicting, and boy was that a mistake to download. I truly put more time into that game than I care to admit, and I will say there was still battery to spare. Again, it's probably a reason why I'm likely gonna go back to a dumb phone, because I just got the 16e, I still dumbified it, and yet I found a way to download an app onto my phone and get hours of screen time in. But I guess I am human after all. But yeah, if you feel like wasting some hours randomly, check out Balatro. That game is a good time. Still, considering how much I've done filming on here and playing Balatro, it's surprising to see how well the battery's done. Now, after removing Balatro, this thing's almost a 2-day battery for me with my sort of dumb phone usage. So not really something to worry about if you're ever thinking about battery. Now, in terms of the other features on this iPhone, I would call them more so nice to haves, not really anything groundbreaking. That being the action button, as well as Apple Intelligence. Now, regarding Apple Intelligence, honestly, it's useful, but it's not. It all depends on who you are. Of course, there's the new writing modes where you can, reconfigure how you've written something. If you're a human, just flip and write it, and that's going to be the way it comes out. But what I do actually like when it comes down to Apple Intelligence is probably the Siri Chat GPT integration when searching something up. Not that you can't really use that in ChatGPT directly. I mean, personally, all my dumb phones like these have ChatGPT, so I could always use that directly on any phone, even my iPhone 13 mini. So personally, I don't really care for Apple Intelligence. It's cool, but it's also sort of useless, depends on who you are. And apart from that, the action button is pretty cool. I find it more useful than I originally thought it would. And this goes back to the iPhone 15 series. I actually really dig the action button. I either have this mapped to open the Kino camera app, which is a more, filmic camera app you can use apart from the default one, or I use it for the flashlight, which is basic, but it is super useful. So yeah, I kind of dig the action button. They're not absolutely groundbreaking, but yeah, they are nice to have. Now with all this, there are a couple things I don't particularly like about the 16E, and that's probably going to start off with the price point. When I originally saw this launch on paper when they did their press release, I was not thrilled with the price point where it is, but actually having used it for a week and a bit now, I'd say it's fair pricing, but it could definitely be cheaper. I think Apple rebranded to the 16E instead of using the SE branding that they've previously used, just to sort of separate from the more budgetary branding that they previously had with the SE lineup. And yeah, I mentioned you could always just buy previous models if you're up for searching for those deals. Most people won't, like I mentioned, and that's totally fine. Now, the second thing I don't think I like about this device is more so personal, and it's a bit of a nitpick, is the size. Again, coming from dumb phones or my iPhone 13 mini, which I think is the perfect size for an iPhone, I don't really like the larger size of them, and it's actually the main reason why I returned my iPhone 16 Pro. It was just too damn big. Couldn't get down with the size of it. And I just love smaller phones, and that's a personal thing. And just so I'm not bullshitting you guys watching, in honest truth, I'm probably going to go back to my iPhone 13 mini when it comes down to using a dumb iPhone. Now, to get back to as to why I dumbify my phones and use dumb phones in the first place, is because it actually allows me to have a more healthier relationship with iPhones and smartphones in general, and sort of let my mind be bored again. Today, between all the apps that are available, like, Instagram and TikTok and Balatro and stuff, those apps fill any gaps that my mind might have of boredom, and I don't really attach to anything outside of what would be on my smartphone. And yeah, I kind of sound like a bit of a pretentious asshole, but that's just my method to still enjoy devices like this without getting totally sucked into them. And that's just me. I just really dig these phones for what they are without all the other stuff. When it comes down to, I don't know, like TikTok and Apple News Plus and Twitter and all that stuff, I end up just getting pissed off at the end of it all. So I'd rather just forget about them on my phone at least. I don't really need them on the go. Again, I still like using those apps on my PCs or my tablets, but I don't really need it on my smartphone. For me at least, I think being bored just lets me do other things, think about other things. Of course, I can just game, I can watch my shows and movies, which is awesome. I love doing that. But more so, particularly this year, I've been trying new things, I guess. I'm not particularly chasing those dopamine hits I would typically get from my smartphone and the social media apps and stuff. And I'm just diving into other things. Like this year, just like every flippin' 30-something-year-old out there nowadays is bouldering. I tried bouldering for the first time, and that's pretty much a video game in real life, if I'm completely honest. There's like levels and shit if you really want to go hard. I just find it's a fun way to get exercise, and I've really enjoyed it. I've also started reading for the first time in a long time, and I'm super stoked to read books. That, and since I'm on the iPhone 16e, I get to abuse apps like Audible, where I can take that same book with me into my car while driving into the office or out for a walk with my dog. I just really appreciate that. Shout out to everybody again for the 15th time. Thank you for recommending Red Rising. That book is flippin' amazing, and I'm always excited to read it. With that, I can say the iPhone 16e is an absolute banger of an iPhone, especially for anybody upgrading from an older iPhone, somebody who might want a secondary device like myself if you want to bounce between dumb phones or whatever. Absolutely excellent device, and in full truth, actual truth, if I'm to recommend an iPhone to literally anybody, it's probably going to be the iPhone 16e. But I'm still going to be using my iPhone 13 mini in absolute full truth, but I still do recommend the 16e. But yeah, it's not the greatest iPhone ever. It's not trying to be the greatest iPhone ever. It's just a damn good iPhone, and that's definitely okay. And surprisingly, it gets my recommendation.